Thank you, Ilaria, for joining me today
Thank you
on
for inviting me, Natalie.
this webinar. Well, we're going to really explore this idea of how do I shift from insight to impact, and we're going to be focusing specifically on leadership programs. So, this is the question for today. And we invite you to share in the chat where you're joining from today, and maybe you also want to share with us what about this topic attracted you today. Especially there are people from all over the world. For some of you, it's the evening time. Much later, I am in France, so right now it's 6. Ilaria is in Italy, so it's also 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
And what attracted them? What attracted all of you to join tonight? Um, especially if it's the evening for you already. So today is a webinar way. It's a bit different than many of our other webinars that 6 Seconds have, which is actually a meeting and we have breakout rooms, etc. Today we invite you to, through the Q&A, through the webinar chat, leave us messages, and according to that we will respond. And you can also send your questions to Ilaria. So Ilaria, you will know when you might want to bring those up as well. Okay, so
absolutely.
let
You can raise your hand. We can't turn your webcam on, but you can put in the chat and type some questions also in the Q&A.
great. And they can raise their hand as well.
Well, yes, they can raise their hand, but we usually don't, there's just a reaction that
Okay.
they maybe want to stop
Okay.
us, and so then share in the chat.
That's great. Okay. Well, let's get started from insight to impact. How can we actually use emotional intelligence that for many people is very fluffy concept into actually a measurable leadership program? That's what we're going to be focusing on today. And my first question to you, did it ever happen that a client asked you, internally or external client, by the way, how do we know this leadership program is working? So my first question, did a client ever ask you that? And second, what did you say? How do you respond to this question? Ilaria, have you been asked
Yeah.
before?
Yes, absolutely. Many times during my calls with also potential clients, especially when we describe, what we do at 6 seconds, and they need to know why and how they can see that this will have an impact on their life or on their career or on the results for their own clients. So yeah, and please put in the chat your ideas.
Yes. So, well, one person is saying we're going to observe if behavior and attitude change. Great. How else? Um, when I started doing leadership development work and I came from the educational world, I didn't always have a very structured response to this.
Hmm.
So it took me a while to, and sometimes and I love to have this conversation saying, how do you want to measure it? What will be important for you?
Hmm.
So we go back to what is that they want to see. So do they want to see more retention? Do they want to see less burnouts? What is it that they want to be seeing? Okay, so somebody is saying the
Yeah.
KPI is moving. Yes,
Yes.
great.
Very often people rely on qualitative data, right? So just seeing a change, kind of a behavioral thing as we read in the chat. But is this enough for
Hmm.
really, saying, well,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it was effective.
Especially today, that it seems that we have less and less time and less of an attention span, and we need to maximize and we need to streamline and we need to prompt and we need to get results even faster. So what are the numbers we're going to be checking,
Mm,
and how fast we're going to be checking it? And I mean, I'm an anthropologist, so I love qualitative results, but I
mm,
also know that in the executive level, a lot of the qualitative results might also be open to interpretation and
yeah.
more subjective. So, especially in very kind of rational projects or organizations, and I was just chatting with, doing a debrief with somebody, and they said, I work with engineers the whole day long, and I'm bringing all this idea of emotions and emotional intelligence, and well, they're not always very open to this idea. It feels very fluffy. So we hope that by the end of today, you will have more ideas on how can you respond this question. So
Yeah, we need to provide a return on investment,
yes,
right?
exactly. Yes, yes, yes. So somebody else is saying, "Oh, great! I can see the level of stress in the team. Are you measuring stress levels? Are you measuring trust levels? By the way, if you're interested in trust levels, vital signs is the next step for you to explore. And another thing is, how can we know that it's because of this program? So even if we're doing sales training and not leadership training, and sales KPIs improve and more targets are achieved, or more people achieve their annual targets or their monthly targets, many times if people are not really convinced on the value of emotional intelligence and all these soft skills development, they'll still be not very convinced about this and a bit skeptic about this. So how can we, what can we say? Yeah. And the next question for you is, what are you currently using to actually measure impact, the impact of the leadership development with your leadership clients? So are you using 360 reports? Are you using the SAY, which is a report we're going to be looking today? Are you using the vital signs? Are you doing interviews? Are you doing surveys? How are you measuring right now the pre and post? So I invite you to also tell us in the chat. We're really eager to learn more about what are the tools you're currently using. And today we're going to be talking about the say and tell you more about that. So what we notice when we talk with consultants, trainers, coaches, etc. They are great at designing programs, but it's a bit harder to prove that they work, especially if they're having a tough, skeptic client. And why is that? First of all, they have no way to actually show proof the ROI. So how can I actually demonstrate that is this program that brought that? This is a bit more challenging. Oh, great. Somebody's using survey and interview and is on the way to use vital signs. So that's also a great way to measure leadership. Today, we're not going to be focusing on vital signs. If it's the first time you hear about it, just go to the 6 Seconds website and search for vital signs, and our AI companion will provide you a lot of research, case studies, introductions about that. So again, how can I prove that my program, the design for this client, internally or externally, really works? How am I going to demonstrate the impact if I don't have a proof of ROI? So there is a gap in the measurement here. Another one is how to justify the premium price. So all of you have a lot of experience. You want to charge a premium price. If I don't have the data, how can I show that this is really impactful? How do I show that? And in that case, how I renew for next year. So it's not about, oh, this was nice, people had fun, let's renew. It's like, no, this really helped. Yeah, we had fun. It's important to have fun. Emotions drive people. And we also want to have that hard data showing that, oh, wow, all our leaders that went through the program, they are less in burnout, less stressed, less on autopilot. Their empathy level increased by 5%. Oh, wow. Here's the difference between, yeah, they have less stress, and oh, their empathy went up 5%. The authority you're building when you're having that. So there is a measurement gap here that we can solve, and today we're going to talk more about that. Ilaria.
Yeah, just wanted to highlight, and thank you, Natalie, because you mentioned education in the beginning. And I just want to say that when we talk about leaders, leaders are everywhere. Okay, and the leadership style is everywhere, also in schools, also at universities. And we have certified who actually are measuring the leadership skills of teachers, with professors at
Mm,
universities. And so this pre and post can be done there also. So
definitely.
not just inside
Corporates.
corporations and
Yes, yes,
right. So
yes,
just
yes.
to highlight this for the people listening.
That's so important. And I think that also because in corporate we have kind of very rational numerical KPIs, and in some
Mm,
schools that's more difficult to have, or in more educational organizations it's more harder to have. But still,
yeah.
how do we show that? How do we show? And I remember many years ago in the EQ Educator, we're talking 2012, we did an EQ Educator in a university in China, and many of the teachers that came, they're teaching many different courses, and they learned the self-science.
Yeah.
And after that, they use the self-science methodology for all their courses. And something very interesting that happened is that students that were not registered to the course started to come to that course. So I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't going to any course if I was not registered to it when I was in university. So she came back to me and said, "Oh, look at the proof. Yeah, there's not really ROI to, but there's a
Exactly.
proof, a very clear proof there that the student said this course is great.
Yeah, it's
Let's
effective. So
invite
I
the
want,
friends. Let's invite our friends."
yeah.
So again, it just reminded me that, right? Sometimes we have a very clear proof, even if it's not in the assessment.
True.
Oh, wow. We have better retention. Oh, we
Mhm.
have people that actually want to come back and stay with us. We're having fun working together. And how is that impacting KPI?
Yeah, and I love what Eduardo put in the chat. Everyone has a leader position at
Mm,
sometimes with their families, projects, community teams. This is not about the title, absolutely. And we are
exactly.
leader of ourselves. We
Yes.
lead our life in the end, right? So we have a responsibility towards ourselves and others in
Yes.
general, even when we are youth.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah, and just to mention again, the example we're going to dive deeper today, it's from the corporate world, but you can use the same assessment in in an educational organization, in a governmental organizational. We have
yeah,
used these reports also in different armies, so it's something we can use. But just the example today will be more corporate. So
yeah.
thank you for that reminder. And again, the idea is really, it's like, okay, I'm great at designing. How am I measuring? How am I measuring not only to prove the ROI, but also to help me design better, to help me customize my design to this course and really have data. So so let's reframe this. Yeah, for some clients, they're going to think that emotional intelligence is just soft skills, and then I find myself trying to just to justify these are not soft skills. They're hard. They're important. Let's call them power skills. And and maybe the leader is like, well, is that really critical right now? There is so much going on in the world. So what we want to shift, we want to reframe it for ourselves and for our clients is this will make this program undeniable. This will make our program something that people will remember, something that will really have impact, and not just, oh, let's do a bit of soft skill training. Another one is sometimes we will talk with client and they say, "Oh, we did EQ already. We tick that box." And
Yeah.
first of all, emotional intelligence in 6 seconds is not a box you can just tick in 2 hours. It's really a practice, and there is all research already from LA University, and not everybody loved a lot. It was how do they call that? Kind of a master research looking at different research around leadership. And in that research, they found that 93% of leadership is related to emotional intelligence. So maybe it was too positive and too optimistic. Let's say 80% of leadership is related to emotional intelligence. So this is not just a box to tick. Especially today, we're talking about leadership development. So we want our assessments to help you prove the value of what you are doing. So that can also specifically help you to renew the contract with this client and upsell to this client and accompany them in the long term, because EQ is a practice. And it's not like, oh, we did yoga already. Yeah, you did 1 hour. Or Tai Chi, right? It's like, no, this is a practice. This is, if I want the benefits, I need to practice every week, every day. The same thing with emotional intelligence. It's a practice. And instead of saying, oh, maybe this is something the client won't value, it's not that important, to say, okay, how are you going to bring so much value that in terms of your business development, you feel more confident to ask for more premium fees? And instead of saying, oh, I don't have the budget for this, this is an added cost, to thinking, to understanding that this is going to provide you with data that the sponsor of the project actually want. Okay, so let's dive into one case I brought for you today, and really think about, okay, how can this help you? First, reframe it for yourself, and then how you reframe it for your clients and with your clients. So what we're going to be looking at today, first is how do I actually measure leadership development. Today specifically, we'll be using the Say Leadership Report, and we'll really look at that report and explore it and think about, for this specific person, what it reveals. So it's a real case study, a real person. Then we're going to be looking at different tools to actually develop leadership development with EQ. Today, we brought 2 tools. We have hundreds, but today I just want to share with you 2 that I find very helpful for this, specifically for the case study I'm going to be bringing. And the proof, which is, okay, am I going to be looking at this person? So we're going to see the pre and post for the person we're going to be focusing on for the case study, and also looking at a group report and really thinking, if I am the sponsor, what do I see here? What is it that I want to see next? And our question to you before we move forward is, when you talk about with your clients about leadership development, what are the skills they bring up? For example, one I've been hearing about lately is critical thinking, resilience, empathy. What are the skills that you are hearing from your clients that are really critical for them right now? Decision making, proactivity, autonomy, responsibility. Great. And sometimes it's not only a skill, it's also a mindset. It's also an attitude, right? Like responsibility might mean the ability to follow through, or it might also be the mindset, the attitude of, I'm responsible for this, I'm proactive for this, I own this, instead of being in victim mode. Communication. Again, I love it when client tells me communication. Like, what about communication? Is it listening more? Is it being clear on what you want to say? Is it about avoiding conflicts? Is it about cross-departmental communication? Again, right? We can talk about this for hours, but thank you for sharing. And it just opens another question, right? You kind of want to double click and find out more. So, if you're new to the EQ model, let me just introduce to you a little bit. So this is the 6 seconds EQ model. It's a action model, different than other EQ models that are a descriptive model. This model is going to tell us how we're going to put emotional intelligence into action. We define emotional intelligence as smarter with feelings, or combining thinking and feeling to make better decisions. And we are making decisions all the time. You are making a decision right now. I'm making a decision right now. I'm making a choice right now. So how am I going to combine my thinking and my feeling to that? And these 8 competencies with the 3 stages or 3 pursuits, know yourself, choose yourself, give yourself, are going to help me do that. So know yourself is going to be about increasing my self-awareness, having more insight. And for that, I need to enhance my emotional literacy. I need to learn about the language of emotions. Just have the language, understand those concepts, identify those feelings, and being able to recognize my patterns And I don't have any, by the way. Like I can recognize everybody else's, but I don't have any, right? Sometimes we're thinking about that. And it's like, oh, wait, no, I'm going to start with myself. Yeah, all change starts from inside. So having insight on what are my triggers is part of recognizing patterns and part of know yourself. And thank you, Ilaria. Yes, there are always, in each competency in the beginning, there will be a verb. So for consequential thinking, it will be apply consequential thinking. In a minute, I'll tell you the rest. Choose yourself. It's about self-management. It's about being more intentional. So apply consequential thinking is about pausing, thinking of the pros and cons, short-term, long-term, and then making a decision. If I'm not using this muscle, I might be very impulsive. If I'm using it too much, maybe it's paralysis by analysis. I am so much into analyzing that I'm not actually jumping into action. Navigate emotions, not controlling them, not managing them, navigate them. Use the energy that emotions give us to inspire ourselves, to inspire others, to deal with the level of stress and anxiety and frustration that many of us, and uncertainty that many of us are living in. Engage intrinsic motivation. We want to connect to what really is important to us, to kind of have more battery for what's ahead, what we're doing today and what's ahead. And we want to exercise our optimism. We want to still have a perspective of optimism, a perspective of opportunity and possibility. So all that is going to help us to be more intentional and to manage ourselves better. And give yourself, which for many people that are new to the model, they might think, give yourself, that sounds really weird. It's really about connecting. It's about connecting to myself, because increased empathy is not only empathy towards others. So I'm going to be connecting to myself, to others, and to my purpose. So increase empathy and pursue noble goals, which is connecting my daily actions with that big sense, larger sense of purpose. And all of these skills, we have them. The question is how we can use them in a more systematic way, in a more structural way, in a more intentional way. So we can align our awareness with our intention and our purpose. Be less frustrated and feel like we're moving forward. We are achieving what we really want. We are getting ahead. And there's a lot of research, and you can look into the state of the heart in the 6 Seconds website if you're interested in, to see really what are the current skills of emotional intelligence. Average in the world, by the way, we're in an emotional recession. We have higher levels of consequential thinking, but lower levels of optimism, lower levels of intrinsic motivation, lower levels of navigating emotions. It's a bit like we are low battery and we don't find the charger on a global level. And this is a moment where leadership development is even more important than it was maybe 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, it was also already more important, very important. And it's even more today because of this emotional recession we're in. So if you're interested in this model, we have hundreds of videos and articles in our website. And of course, if you're really going to get certified, the EQ practitioner will be the right course for you to really practice these skills, not only read about them or hear about them. Ilaria, what did I forget?
Nothing. I just wanted to ask the people attending which of these skills they feel are their most valuable skills as leaders. Maybe you can just put in the chat what is for you, even if maybe you don't know them very well. But Natalie explained beautifully the sense of each one, the meaning. And so, what is maybe one that you are practicing as a leader that you are that resonates with you, and you think it is making a difference as a leader? What about you, Natalie?
I wanted to ask you first.
Oh yeah, okay, let's go. Well, I love Alessia, optimism and pursuing noble goals. Well, how I would say all of them in different situations, but I really feel that at least for me, optimism and pursuable goals, they really accompanied me over these years. And again, then I activated different skills in different moments, all of them, none of them, or pushing a little bit on something, but definitely exercising optimism, that is really about hope and courage, and not
Yeah.
only finding alternatives, but being optimistic is really being open and be brave sometimes and bold,
Mm, mm,
and then be guided through the noble goals. For me, it's always been very
mm.
important.
I agree with you. And just for the sake of choosing something else, I would
Yeah.
say navigate emotions
Mm,
in terms of understanding that emotions drive people and it's people that drive performance. So
mm,
my own feelings as a leader are going to impact so much. And, I can also talk about me as a mom and me as a
mm,
wife and me as a daughter and me as a friend. My own emotions at that very moment when I'm having an interaction with another person are going to really be catchy, contagious. So how am I
mm.
navigating my own emotions? Especially I feel so many of us in so much stress that seems to me critical. And the other one is increased empathy, which is
Mm.
the empathy for ourselves and the empathy for others. How we create that space where it's okay to talk about emotions and it's not a weakness.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so many beautiful contribution
Beautiful.
here.
I love it.
Yeah, connection building and maintaining, and then deep awareness. Thank you, Gabor, for this. And growing empathy, recognizing patterns. Recognizing patterns is also really, really extremely important. And we
Yeah.
were discussing this, if you remember, Natalie, also as an organization. So not only as
Mm, mm,
leaders,
mm,
but
mm.
what are the patterns of the organization, of a team? Because as collective, as little ecosystems, we have patterns that we follow, and some of them are useful, and others should maybe be replaced. So this is
Yeah.
and it opens another chapter, another
Yes.
conversation. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. I'm just noticing time, so I want to tell you
yeah.
about the real case I brought for you today. So Mary, she's a brilliant engineer, and that she has been promoted to be a manager in a key team, and she has 10 people in her team. And she only started to be a manager 3 months ago, and but she's already having some challenges. So the team isn't so motivated. She really feels she needs to push them all the time. The team members are also complaining about her being a bit too tough. So, based on your experience, and this is a question for everybody, what do you think is going on with her? What does she need? Ilaria, what would you say? What does your intuition tell you? What's going on with her? What does she need?
Yeah, it really this question opens multiple options, multiple situations. We could think of a personal one, thinking of trust, thinking of stress, thinking of you know the need of recognition, or on the other side, it could be the importance of connection. So there are really multiple
Yeah.
things. And so this is why it's so relevant, and not to jump into conclusions
Mm.
before maybe asking questions,
Mm.
or having, allowing, giving the benefit of doubts. But
Mm.
making assumptions is always important, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are making assumptions in the
Yeah,
chat.
yeah. So maybe she needs to connect more.
Yeah,
Maybe she's feeling like I need to prove myself. It's been 3 months in the role. I need to achieve my goals. I need to move
yeah,
forward. I need to prove that I'm the right choice for this role. Oh, maybe I'm not aware of how am I interacting. Maybe I'm not confident. Okay, so of course, if you are the coach for Mary or the trainer for Mary, you're going to explore further. Yeah, but we just know this kind of above the surface,
yeah.
in the iceberg. And now let's think if we could have her report, her EQ report. So this is the Say Leadership Report. The Say, it's a questionnaire that can make you many different reports, more than 8, 9, 10 reports that you can get from the same questionnaire. Today we'll be looking at the leadership report, specific pages. The whole report is 20 pages. Today we're going to be looking at two of the profiles, the snapshots that we can see there. And this report requires a debrief. It can be an individual debrief or a group debrief, but we will definitely want to debrief it. And let's look at this. So first of all, the leadership report, the SAY, includes 2 questionnaires inside of it. One of them is about EQ levels. I already showed you the model. The other one is about success factors. So we're going to ask you questions that are going to help us see your perception on your well-being, your relationships, your quality of life, and your effectiveness. We're looking at you as a whole person. Not only, oh, you're a leader, we need to see how is your influence doing. No, we want to know other things below the surface and your perception of it. So this is not a 360, it's a self-assessment. And here you can see the report for Mary. So we're going to look at the results in 5 stages. Challenge, meaning I feel this is a challenge for me. Mary feels it's a challenge for her. Emerging, it's not a challenge anymore, but it's not so stable. Functional, it's stable. I'm using it most of the time. Skilled, this is a resource for me. Expert, this is a strength. And if I overuse it, if it's out of balance, it will also be challenge. So we could also copy the word challenge and put it here. So this is a very important notion in the say that sometimes we think, oh, the higher the better. It's like, well, depends if you overuse it.
Especially also if there's a huge gap between, one skill and the others, or one outcomes and the others.
Yeah. So effectiveness, we're looking at influence and decisions. So if I am Mary right now for a minute, I feel like I have a lot of influence. People listen to me. I'm great in my decisions, but oops, my well-being is not so stable. So we start to, how do you call that? Gratter in French.
Digging.
Start to dig. We start to kind of scratch the surface.
Scratch the surface.
Scratch the surface, and we know a bit more. And we didn't yet do the debrief with her. When we're going to be with her together, we're going to use a coach approach, and we're going to show it to her, and we're going to ask her, what does it mean to her? What does this mean for her? What does she notice here? And then we're going to be looking at the EQ results. So again, we can see here the different stages and what's going on. So let's just look at it together. And since many of you are not yet certified and you're interested in learning about this tool, let's, together with Ilaria, debrief or kind of interpret this report. So many people will first go to this. Ilaria, where are you going here?
Yeah, of course, because our culture is always to focus on the negative, on the weaknesses. And so we say, oh my goodness, my empathy level is so low. How is it possible? Well, first of all, we also need to think that empathy is not only empathy towards others, but it's also self-empathy. So what we call mepathy, right? So how much compassion and forgiveness we give ourselves. So this is something that we need to consider. But there's not only the low level, we have also beautiful results, exercising optimism, engaging motivations, always reminding what we said before though. So is exercising optimism maybe too high? And are we, just pushing too much into this? We don't know. And we are just now thinking
We're
of these
assuming.
results, assuming what is going on, what can be, what could be, what might be the potential needs underneath these competent results.
So this is the largest, as you're saying, right? This is the strength right now, and it's almost in expert. So this can really be, maybe there is overusing. Maybe there she is overusing it. So let's imagine what is that sound like kind of a can-do attitude, and yeah, we can find a solution. And also
Yeah.
noticing here they apply consequential thinking. So let me just use
Mm.
different colors. So if the apply consequential thinking is about pausing, thinking of the risks before
Yeah.
jumping, she's using this less than this right now.
Yeah. And maybe if empathy is really empathy towards others, can you imagine having a boss saying, yes, we can do it. Let's do it without assessing causes and consequences also emotionally and not caring about others. Just
Yeah.
saying, I can do it, so you can do it. Let's do it. Well, maybe you are exactly, Gabor.
Mm.
I mean, blind and wild. Let's go for it all
Yeah.
together. But, not always the best choice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if it's false optimism, but it might be over optimism. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
absolutely.
maybe because consequential thinking when it's lower, maybe sometimes there is a bit of impulsivity in it. So
Mm,
impulsive, making decisions very quickly, but not necessarily thinking things through and connecting to the emotional cues that their team members might be sending to her, to Mary.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you also mentioned intrinsic motivation, which is this idea that I really want, I really know what I want, I really know what's important.
Yeah.
And if that overuse, it might come out as stubborn
Mm,
because, and maybe even getting angry, losing patience.
yeah.
And noble goal, this idea, pursuing noble goal, really like an idealism and looking at the future and the vision. And when these three are together, there is a lot of energy.
Yeah, which is good, right? Which is
Great.
good most of the times, but at times can be challenging for others and even for ourselves if the energy then level is not supported, probably as for her, since her level of well-being is so low.
Yeah. So I am like in a marathon. I'm running and running and running and running and running and running, but
Yeah.
I'm alone. And we see this kind of profile with so many great leaders that
Mm.
they are leader means I'm going to be the first. Leader is I'm going to lead forward and forward and forward. And maybe I'm like, oh wait, I'm running alone. Nobody's behind me here. I'm alone
And
in the car.
yeah, and I'm also devastated because
Yes,
I
and I'm
just wanted to
tired.
go, and I'm
Yes,
tired.
yes, 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 yes.
How many of you are Marys here? I certainly find myself at times in that Mary status.
Thank you, Gloria. Yes, yeah. So this can already, before we even met Mary, this already give us some
Mm,
hint about what might be going on. And of course, we don't want to, we want to interpret that, and then we don't want to assume. We want to go to do
yeah.
this debrief with a coach approach. And maybe one question I would have is, what questions would come up for your client when they see this report? If Mary is your client, what do you think are some questions that they will be asking you
Mm,
or themselves?
yeah. I would ask, is this really true? I mean, is this, validated? And it happened to me. And, the answer is always, and when we start, I remember we always start with, this is what you are telling yourself, because this is a self-assessment,
Yeah, this
right?
is not a 360.
This is not a
Yeah,
360, this
yeah,
is
yeah,
your
yeah,
truth,
yeah.
which is not the truth, right? But it's
It's
a
one perspective.
is one perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to bring that curiosity in, and at the same time we can think about what are some of the questions. So one is like, is this true? Is this really my report? And that's in the AQ assessor we really learn about how what are different answers we can have. um, Great. So maybe we can ask how the lower empathy connects to your lower well-being. What's the
Mhm.
connection there? What a beautiful question. We
Mm.
can also think about how are these strengths helping you, and when are you overusing them? When are you overusing these resources? What's the impact on you? What's the impact on your well-being? Maybe a question they will have is, can I develop these skills? We also see here relatively emotional literacy is, is still a challenge. So maybe, how do I make space for my emotions? Maybe that will be a question she will ask herself. Or how can I be efficient and also empathic? How can I do that? So there are many questions we can think that might come up for our clients with this. So one question is, what questions do we want to ask? And another one is, what questions the client might ask us or herself. Okay, so how do I balance this? How do I stay motivated and at the same time not running alone in the front, but with more people with me? How, if I know myself better, how can that help me to navigate better? Yeah, because many times when we see here emotional literacy lower than navigate emotions, there is a bit of suppression. I'm not going to know it, but I'm going to navigate it right away. So when we are certified to use this tool in the EQ Assessor course, we see many, many different cases. And then, of course, we debrief many people, and then we start to get more of a sense of what might be happening here. And we're going to go into the debrief, and we're going to use a very open language and bring a lot of curiosity and allow the self-judgment that many times comes in, and at the same time invite them to be more curious and really, as we say in self-science, be like a detective for yourself.
Yeah.
So we could do this with each individual. We could do this with many people. Just if we recap till now, this is not going to be a personality type. We're always going to tell them that this is a snapshot, that this is not about what you are, and that it connects to the outcomes, and that it's a dynamic profile. So we can do pre and post assessment, and we want to encourage growth mindset when you use this. So this is not a personality. This is not fixed. And we can see how it connects to your success factors. So let's say we did that and we created awareness. And Mary now is aware of the level of empathy, and maybe she wants to develop that. But to be honest and blunt, the client wants change, not only awareness. And if we only give them awareness, great, they actually might get more frustrated. It's so important we also have tools, proven, scientific, practical, systematic tools to help our clients. So today I'm going to introduce two, and as I said, we have hundreds. We have books, we have cards, we have many, many, many things. So let me just first share with you about the TFA cards. So this is a tool that will help Mary recognize patterns. So you can see here a picture of the online version, because we have TFA cards online. We have an app and also physical cards. But let's say that I'm a PCC coach, I'm an EQ coach, and I'm going to work with Mary for a few months. And after I do the debrief and we have a coaching contract, and she wants to develop her self-awareness, and I bring these cards with me. So I will bring with me the EQ coach cards, the TFA cards that Ilaria is showing, and many other cards. And then based on what comes up, I'm going to invite her and say, hey, do you want to use a tool for this? I brought these cards. Do you want to try it? My experience is 100% of my clients love the TFA cards. I never had somebody saying, oh, I don't want to use the cards
I love
again.
them too.
Yes, I never had anybody saying, I don't want to use these cards. But let me just tell you how it works. So Mary was thinking of the situation where she was tough with somebody in her team. And then we were like, okay, so what were some of your thoughts at that moment when you were being so critical with that person? So this always happens. They're always doing this. And I felt betrayed, undermined, and I also felt angry and explosive. So here, one action she did was just to complain, blame the person, and then also gossip to somebody else about it. So this is a pattern she's having. So we're going to take all those thoughts, feelings, and actions, which are some abstract, and we're going to put them on paper, not black on white, but colors on white. And we're going to think about, okay, was it this thought? Was it that thought? What's the difference between thoughts and feelings? Many people that have low emotional literacy right now, they may not even know the difference. So we are coaching her to solve a specific issue that she brought in the training, in the coaching session. And at the same time, we're developing the skills. And when you're an EQ assessor, you know that you're developing recognized patterns and emotional literacy at this step. And then you're going to use the cards again and think, if this happens again with her, with somebody else in your team, what you might want to try. So she said she would love, instead of feeling this, to feel more patient and calm and open. So then I asked her, if you're feeling this, what will you think instead of this always happens? Oh, what are the assumptions I'm making? What is really important for us in the long term? Okay, so now what do you want to be doing? If you're feeling this and you're thinking this, I want to get more information. I want to be more proactive. And in this case, it was around listening. So this is just a very practical tool that helped Mary recognize patterns. And she didn't only use it once. She actually, the organization where Mary works that invited us to do this project, they actually purchased the cards. So it was always in her office and she could always just check it and find more and more and more patterns.
And there are blank cards, so you can
Yes.
add your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own actions if you don't find them among the many that are already listed.
Yes, yes. Just before we move forward, somebody had a great question about what's the minimum time gap between the pre and post assessment. So that really depends on what are you doing between the pre and the post. So if you're not doing anything, the research shows that if you don't do anything, meaning not do anything, if you don't do any training, emotional intelligence also goes up, but it takes 20 years to go up 8%. If we're not doing any training, anything, any intentional support. If we do 3 days training and with 1 month difference, we will see 8% increase in a 3-day training and a month in between. So they took the assessment, they did 3 days training, we waited a month, we invited them to do it again. So 20 years to see 8% or 3 days of structured training and some practice afterwards. Okay, so I hope that, and you can see many case studies in our website, and there many times you can see how long the project was and when the assessments were taken. Okay.
Let's say also for education, just for people who are here, that, the real sustainable changes in the culture of education, if you think schools, of course, for example, the practice of social emotional learning should be reiterated for at least 3 years. That's why the self-science programs last 3 years as a minimum. So it really something that you can't change completely or replace your patterns in a short period of time.
Yeah. And in coaching, we usually say that it will be at least for 3 months. So a coaching intervention, let's say, or a coaching program will be at least 3 months, sometimes 6, 9, 12, etc. It will be a cycle of 3 months. So we might want to do the before the 3 months starts, and then after the 3 months. And that in this case that I'm going to share with you, it was 6 months coaching, meeting every 2 weeks. So there's another report that we can get out of the SAY, which is called the Neural Network, is using an AI technology called the Neural Network, that it works a bit like a GPS, but instead of your location of your EQ level. And she wanted to work on her relationships. So we thought about the relationships as the destination. And this is where right now it is. So one of the coaching sessions, I brought this report in, and we were thinking about, okay, such a classical question in coaching. How would this look like in 90 days? What would you like to be different? And she said she wants closer relationships. She wants more companionship. She wants more allyship. Allyship? You say that? Ally. Feeling more like an ally instead of
Alliance, I think.
alliance. Thank you. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
no,
think I
but
just
maybe it
invented a
exists.
word.
No, maybe
Yeah.
it exists.
I'm
We
going to look
are
for it.
both non-native speakers, so
Exactly.
ask the British or the
Thank you for
Americans.
your question. Thank you for your understanding. So I think it does exist, but I'm not sure I'm saying it
Yeah,
right. But
probably
alliance,
yes.
yeah. So I want to have more of an alliance. I want to be closer to people. I don't want to feel so much like I'm against them. And so we brought this report. And what's really interesting is sometimes you say, oh, you want to develop your leadership, your relationships, empathy. What's really interesting in her case is, yes, the GPS passes through empathy, but there's also other things. Apply consequential thinking. So if I want to apply consequential thinking and I am Mary, look at this powerful question. I can coach myself or with my coach. What's undermining my positive relationships? What's my role in that? Before I start an interaction, how do I want this person to think and feel at the end of our conversations? Great. I asked Mary, I told her the last one is giving you a tip that you can also use at work, not only during the coaching session. When do you want to ask this? It's like, oh, wow. Before I have my weekly meeting with my colleague, I want to think about this. She made herself a post-it. She put it out there. She started to consider this further. So again, this is bringing it to the action. And you can do more than one session with this in terms of coaching session, or give it to her to kind of coach yourself. And that's also something we want, right? As coaches, we don't want our clients to be depending on us. We want them to develop these skills. So because of time, I'm only going to share this much on this report. We can really be talking about it for hours. And also, I want to tell you that we have a group overview. So in this case, we coached Mary, but there were actually 100 people inside this organization that took the assessment. Some of them had one-on-one coaching. Some of them came to training. Some of them are going to go through coaching in the next step after the training. And here we can really, this is something that the sponsors want to see, the before and after. Right now, I'm just showing you the before. So we can see here the levels. So for example, in this group, navigate emotion seems to be pretty low, but self-awareness is a bit higher. It's still further away from there's still a gap with the benchmark, but still it's pretty high. But this, it's between emerging and functional. So maybe this team is under a lot of stress. So again, if I have this before I design the solution for the client, the program, I can say, okay, we might want to add more navigate emotions tools and talk more about stress and give them more tools to do this. We can also see how many people are higher than average in EQ and success. And I love to do this pre and post, because most probably what will happen is many of the people here will move here. And many of the people here will move here and here. So we can really see how this project supported people to go beyond average. And another part I love is this report. The whole report is many pages. I'm just showing you the overview. I can also, again, use the neural network. And for this group, to support them, they need to exercise optimism more, intrinsic motivation, and empathy. So if I'm planning a training, I know I want to be focusing on this. If I'm working with coaches one-on-one, I want them all to know this. So this is the group report. And Mary before and after. And my question to you is, what do you see here?
I always love this comparison, and because it shows the possibility, right? What we can do, and also that these skills are really improvable, learnable, actionable.
Yes.
And it can happen that some of them decrease, right? Because maybe you decide intentionally, especially if you are overusing them, or you decide intentionally to leave them apart, right? And just focus on something and some of these. So
Yeah. So what do
maybe
you
this
all
is the
see?
case. Yeah. Huge
What
improvement.
actions did Mary take to make this significant change? She was really motivated to develop herself, and she increased her self-awareness, recognized her patterns. She had TFA cards in her office, and she took a notebook. And every time I was joining her, she was saying, "Look, look! I found more TFAs." I love it. And she was much more curious about herself and her patterns. And then, for example, the neural network report really helped her as well to say, "Oh, okay, this is something very practical I can use to develop my empathy. Just before every meeting, I'm going to do this." So her optimism and intrinsic motivation really helped her to take action, to make an action plan, to do something. And empathy is still the lowest, but it's not a challenge anymore. So this is not miracle. She worked hard for this. We met around 14 times during those 6 months. And she worked on these muscles in between. So that's why one of the books I co-authored is called the EQ Gym. Sorry for the self-promotion, but I really believe that these competencies are like muscles, and how am I going to use it? And the work I was doing with her as a coach was about guiding her and supporting her and being that guide on the side when she's with curiosity exploring how to use this. So imagine that we have reports of before and after of 100 people in that organization. We can see their growth. We can see what worked. We can see what needs to be better. And I'm taking this to the sponsor and saying, this is why you need to do this next year. Look at these results. And of course, I also want qualitative data, but I also want to see this. Yeah, so she chose to slow down. She chose to connect with people less on the ideals and more on the emotions. And she's more balanced now. So again, this is not, oh, the larger, the highest, the better. Sometimes it's the balance, the intention in it. It's better. So one question I have for you is, when you're thinking now of your clients, and it might be, again, an individual or an organization, internally, externally, what is the biggest gap that you see right now? Is it a problem of awareness? They don't know their patterns. They're not aware of their strengths. Or is it more like, okay, I have the awareness, but I don't know how to translate it into behavior? Or C, which is, I don't know how to demonstrate the change for the sponsor. So is it A, B, or C? Okay, wow,
Many
I see a lot
B.
of B.
Yes,
Interesting.
bees. A lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
bees.
So what I shared with you today around the TFA cards and the neural network report are part of our tools, and we have many other tools. So feel free to contact us and learn more about what will be the right tools for your client. If you're interested in getting certified with the SCI, first thing is the EQ Assessor will be a certification for you, or the Brain Profile certification if you want a simpler report. And not talking so much about EQ, a bit less deep in a way. It's a 2-page report. It's kind of a good start, the starter, the first course. So you will need to complete the 6 seconds assessor certification. We're having it online mostly, sometimes offline, like very soon somewhere in Europe. And then you will have access to the SAY platform. So you can create your own links, your own reports, etc. And then there is a lot of support. So we have Pro Circles, and we have Connects and Learns, and we have a lot of material in our library that you can use to implement that. So if you're curious to hear more, we invite you to book a discovery call with, if you're in Europe, it will be with Ilaria. If you're in other regions, it will be with other colleagues. You can just go to this website. And so if you're in Europe, Ilaria will be the person to contact. If you're in other regions, I invite you to copy this link and go to the website, and then you can directly schedule with the person in your region in charge of of introducing this to you and connecting with you. So now my question is, now how else can you respond to the how do we know this is working? So self-awareness, it's something we can measure. We can show the change. The change is visible, felt, and also visible. And let's have a proof that we can show the sponsor. So it doesn't just stay in the fluffy, touchy-feely, but we can
The
actually
nice to
show
have.
this. Yes, exactly. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today. And I hope this was useful for you and helpful and valuable for you. And thank you, Ilaria, for supporting.
Thank you.
We wish you a nice evening and hope to see you in our next webinar. By the way, we have a webinar on June 13. You can find it in our events. So you can go to events.6seconds.org, and there we're going to be talking about strategy implementation. So let's say a CEO of an organization comes to you and says, "Oh, we're going to change strategy. Is the team ready for a new strategy implementation?" And you're like, "Yeah, I think they are." Or like, "Oh, I'm not sure." Okay, let's have an assessment. Let's have more data about people that can help us. And we're going to be looking at other reports than the ones we looked today and how we can use this into strategy implementation. And we're going to have a case as well for that time. So,
Do you remember, can you remind me the title of that webinar so I can put it? It's already uploaded in our event system. You say yes, right?
think so. Yeah, let me just check that.
Because I'm just checking our events.
I think it's on LinkedIn.
Oh, right.
I think
So it's not.
Our marketing colleague just shared with us today. I don't know if Vito is online right now.
No,
Let me
he's
just
not,
see
but
this.
let me just
Let me find it. Yeah. Here it is. One second. I'm opening it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I have it here.
Yes. So it's building the human side of strategy.
Yeah, let me put this
So
link
you
here.
can go, here's the LinkedIn one. If you want to also invite some of your friends and colleagues to join that event. And then, of course, you need to register in our event system to participate.
Yeah.
Great. So have a nice evening, everybody. And do
Thank you,
write to us.
everyone.
Let us know what other topics will be valuable for you in our webinars. And I hope you take tools from today and opportunities and options that you can be using later on with your clients. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ilaria.
Natalie. Thank you,
Bye
all of you.
bye.
Bye.